swimming pool. Terry and Marcia Dixon also owned a winery and a vineyard. Now on top of that hill up there, there's some red Walmart chairs. The home directly behind that is the caretakers. Alan Jackson once looked at this home to purchase it and wound up passing on it. But this is available for rent as an Airbnb. We have a smaller island coming up next, and this is Surveyors Island. It's owned by the Wambach family from Rochester, New York. Their granddaughter is a retired U.S. soccer player. We call her the girl with the golden cleat. She's still known as that. Many summers, I would see her walking through the streets of Alexandria Bay with her grandparents. I got her an autograph from her at one of the local restaurants called Dock of the Bay. On your left-hand side, folks that have been following along, did you get to see parts of the bridge system here? These are the three consecutive bridges coming off of the international. So you have the Warren Trust, the Rainbow Arch. Ivy Lee is the one we're getting closer to. It does look like that Thousand Island Bridge that we saw in the first section there that Americans spent. Looks identical, although this is a lot smaller. So they were trying to promote trade and employment when they were thinking about building the bridge system. Each bridge is painted green to blend in with its surrounding with its own architectural style. And you could sign a 5-year contract out and work for that bridge system by hand painting and scraping that bridge to prevent reef to fall on those going underneath it. They even throw in a neon shirt with you. Now, there's no workers today. They're only out there Monday through Friday, but you might occasionally catch some folks walking across this. On your right-hand side is the Ivy Lee Prudential State Park. And on the left-hand side is Georgina National Park. Only way to reach Georgina is by a boat. No ramp or roadway leading off that bridge. So you'll never see a vehicle over on that island. This is one of the few bridge systems that does cost $3 and change to go over and $27 and change to go under. As we go under, turn around and look at the bridge there. You can see where they left off from painting. They're almost done. They've been working on this all summer long. Now traveling through this section, we're coming into the Whirlpool Channel, the only section of the river that can't form ice, and it's equivalent to the Niagara Falls plunge pool. So you can see some eddies and some whirlpools if you look closely on either side. So this is no joke. It's a great time to take a selfie with the bridge in the back of it. Maybe you need to redo your cover photo on Facebook or a great Instagram photo. Now on your right hand side, there's an opening up here, and that's known as Smuggler's Cove. Talk about that for a minute. It was acting as an illegal smuggling base during the Prohibition from 1920 to 1933. Always had the authorities pondering to where those bootleggers were, who were often farmers coming through this area on their little small vessels. They would use burlap sacks, loading bottles of spirits in them, easy to hide in odd locations of the vessel. Now, if pursued by authorities, they would just drop them in the water and come back and get them days later. Another story we heard is that they would paint their boats 2 different colors when coming through here because they knew the authorities were on to them. While the authorities would see a green boat going in and a white boat going out, they would get away scotch-free. So we are making a turn into this section ahead of us, and if you happen to be looking down by the water, you're going to see that we're going through a wrong way channel is what this is called, because the river is flowing in the wrong direction through here. And straight ahead of us is another view, a closer view of the observation tower, once known as a sky deck. And that is sitting on Hill Island in Canada. Now there's a lots of islands around this area. And so one of the famous questions we do get asked is folks want to know, well, how many exactly do we have here? But the region, you know, it's quite large. I'm going to talk about that as it starts off in Cape Vincent and goes up to Ogdensburg. And a qualification of a tree, it has to be above the water for 365 days a year. An island does, with a tree and a plant on it, keeping those in mind. So let's find out this answer together. Let's see if we can guess it by playing a game here. And all you have to do is raise your hand to play my game. So if you folks think we have less than 1,000 islands, you can show me by raising your hands for less. Or raise your hand if you think we have exactly 1,000 islands. That's how it gets its name. Raise your hand if you think there's more than 1,000. There's a lot of you that haven't played along. Raise your hand if you just don't care how many islands that are here. All right, perfect. So we got 1,000 on this side. What about this side? More than 1,000. Give me a number. 1864 is correct. Just like that new restaurant downtown Alexander Bay, the former Admirals. How ironic. Now, if you want to see the smallest charter island, just look over on your left-hand side at Tom Thumb. They want you to know how many people can stand on that island at one time, so they put a number on there for you to read. $15 is correct. I was waiting for someone to yell that out. That also happens to be the speed limit through this section. What a coincidence. It's very peaceful coming up through this area. Folks do like to enjoy the river like we do, so you can see them occasionally swimming in front of their islands, their homes, their docks, but just sitting there and relaxing, enjoying the sun. Through that opening on the right-hand side is Dashwood Island, also known as Okawaka Lodge. Translates as Swiftwater, also known as the home of the Seven Gables. It's over 100 years old, the first home to be built on a Canadian island. The owner also owns Blueberry and Tom Thumb. There's a little footbridge over there as well. It's pretty neat to look at this section through here. Now, these folks they're very private with what they share, but they are friendly when they wave and see you. Some other questions I will fill in through here between talking about a couple places I know. And that is like electricity. Maybe you're wondering, how do the islands get that electricity? You may see telephone pole wires on one side and then on the other side, but it doesn't go over your head. That's because they're running underneath the water. They're extension cords called hydro cables. Now, some folks, their islands are a little bit smaller, so they'll just use generators. They can get kind of costly, so two folks owning islands near each other might want to share the cost of that. Now I'm looking at these homes, and I'm looking at these grays and the browns and the tans that I'm seeing. They have a color scheme going through here, but there is one standing out. What color do you see? Pink on the left-hand side. That is called the Pepto-Bismol home. Well, by me anyways. But on the boathouse it says halfway house. It's been pink out of all the summers I've been given tours here. This is my 5th season. This past spring it got a new paint job done to it. And it's owned by Whit Tucker. He's a retired football player from the Ottawa Rough Riders. Now I'm not sure the color of paint and why he picked that out, but maybe he's got a lot of granddaughters. Pink won over purple maybe, I'm not sure. Now all around the water here, we can check out all this view and everything around here. You can see the telephone pole wires that you see on one side, either side. So that is a commonly asked question. And after that, we get asked about the sewage and the waste. Folks want to know, what happens with all of that. Well, holding tanks are on the islands. Those are septic systems, just like on the mainland. They'll usually be behind a building. One later on in the tour I'll point out. It's the only one I've seen visible in all the tours I've been given. But they do get filled up, and then they have to be emptied out and taken care of. So the crew out in the water are known as honey dippers, and they work on a honey boat. Honey barge there. Honey boat, honey barge. Now they take great pride in their work. When they're done cleaning that out, they're going to leave you with a business card that reads, "We take crap from everyone." Stands in the back of the shirt, say we're the #1 and the #2 business. So if you see a barge going by us with a porta potty on the back, that's them. We'll point it out to you as well. And most islands here do have filtration systems on there. There's that no dumping policy route out here. So we like everybody to put all their garbage and everything in the garbage cans and hang on to all that loose stuff. This river water we're surrounded by is 95% pure. Drinking water needs to be 93% pure so you can drink out of the river. I'm not a fan. Animals live in these waters, and 2 types of swimmers like piers and liars. And I hang on to that bottled water I have behind me. Zebra mussels, though, size of your thumbnail, got accidentally introduced to the rivers. Females lay up to 1,000 eggs a year, and river filters out every 72 hours, making it pretty pure. They're part of the dangerous species list. Very few of them, even more and more. But when you're in the river with them and you come across them, you will know that that's that there. They're very sharp. But a gentleman, many years ago, when we had an oil spill and saw folks just not caring about the river and just dumping everything in it and polluting it, he didn't like that. So he started a campaign called Save the River. Got a lot of locals around him to join that cause, follow suit as well. And that grew and grew for many years. He became a local hero till they found out who his real name was, Abby Hoffman. So there he was telling everyone it was very free, but it really was Abby Hoffman, a Chicago anti-war protester, part of the Chicago 7, hiding out in the early 1970s with some face reconstruction done. America's Most Wanted. Turned himself in, though. When he did that, he got a lesser sentence when they went to sentence him. Now, turning through this section here, we've got some A-frame homes going down through here, like Trident Island on the right-hand side. So the folks can just close their place up in the wintertime and not have to worry about it till the spring. Owl's Head Lodge is on your left-hand side. And it does look like an owl's head with the circular eyes. Windows there. It was once used as a camp for underprivileged children. This is the first time I've seen them. A lot of folks actually there, and tents camped out the last 2 days by Owl's Head Lodge. Alright, so not knowing too much around this section right here, we're going to talk about some more questions we do get asked. Folks ask about groceries and mail. Mail boats all back in the day went around transporting mail all to these islands. Nowadays, about 5 boats still do so. Most owners have a P.O. box on the mainland. Grocery stores, the locally ones around Alexander Bay, the American side there, have docks in the back of them. You can call your order in and go by boat, and it cuts that time in half. Picking that order up and then being on your way. So I was giving a tour the other day and scanning tickets in today. And we get asked quite a few questions while doing that as well. Even walking through the parking lot. Those questions, they go like this. Do the islands go all the way down? Can you swim underneath them? Do the islands float? What time does your 10 o'clock boat leave at? How long is your 1 hour tour? Do you work here? How do I get downstairs? What side of the boat is the best side to sit on to see the Statue of Liberty? Is this freshwater or saltwater? Was that the Golden Gate Bridge? The Space Needle in Seattle? I know. Are we going to see dolphins, whales, or manatees on your tour? So, I think the most recent one was if we built too many homes on one side of an island, will it tip? So that was just a couple weeks ago. I know. This section right through here is known as a blind filler's elbow that we're going through. And if you haven't had a chance to learn any of our history or walk through town, We do have a museum that's open tomorrow, right down by the Riverwalk. There's some stone pillars, some description, and some photos there. Also across from the River Hospital's Captain Visker's Kitchen. Him and his wife is photoed right on there. They have an amazing food. Captain Visker was a tourboat captain who had 8-hour tours because the boats, well, they went a lot slower back then. And through this section, he noticed his passengers were falling asleep. Called on a friend, a blind fiddler, asked him to come to the left-hand side right here. His name was Chauncey Patterson, and he asked if he could play some lively tunes for the passengers. He agreed to do so. Captain